Hey, everybody, I'm Lou Malagrana,
And I'm Ryan Hurley.
and this is the Nice Rack podcast.
Podcast.
Ryan, how would you say that? This is our first podcast, and you actually
The
came up
Nice Rack Podcast.
nice, very nice. So this is our first podcast. I'm sure it's going to be extremely informative. I'm sure we're going to have 1 billion subscribers by tomorrow. But all that being said, Ryan and I decided that it was time to sit down. We both work at StarNet Solutions, and I've been here for 22 years. And Ryan, I think, is in almost your 6th year, right? You're in your 6th year.
6.5.
6.5 years. My God, time flies. That's what happens
Sure
when you get old.
does.
You forget stuff. So we figured it was time to sit down and start using some of our real world experience to bring some of that to the table and let people be able to get a sampling of what we see in the field every day. Unlike a lot of people who work at one job with one network or maybe several networks within their company, we work at hundreds or even thousands, and we see all kinds of stuff. So we thought we'd maybe every other week we'd probably a little biweekly action here. We'd go out and we'd talk about different topics that hopefully are relevant to people, and somewhere we'll find a place that makes sense to you. So before we get started, and since we are doing this raw, and this is not scripted, we are literally just doing this off the cuff. Ryan, you want to say anything before we get going here?
Before I get started, I'd like to say that I'm being held hostage, and
Give that.
What's
that sign? You give like a sign, like
have somebody pop up in the back.
Somebody pops in the back.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for like Stella or Anthony or
Oh man! So as Lou said before, my name is Ryan. I am the IT manager with StarNet. I've been with the company for about 6.5 years. Started as a technician. Really didn't know too much coming into it.
Then, weren't you?
A wee lad.
Just a wee lad back in the day, I believe.
Came in with, a decent amount of knowledge about the field, but over the course of the last 6.5 years, my knowledge has grown exponentially, and it's been kind of a wild ride. It's been a fun ride. Seen a lot in the field. Becoming accustomed to a lot of different environments and what people do and what people use in the field and what different types of hardware, things like that. So it's been fun. It's a challenge every day just because I'm seeing so many different things, and there are so many people and companies with so many different network configurations and different types of hardware. So it's a fun challenge. I tell everybody I learn something new every single day, and I can confidently say that in the 6.5 years I've been here, I've literally learned something new every day.
Say that you have a plethora of challenges on a daily basis?
Of course.
Ryan, do you know what a plethora is? All right. So Ryan and I have this thing that we do in the office pretty regularly where we throw random lines out from random TV shows and movies, and we're probably the only two that get them because everybody else in the office kind of looks around like, what are you guys talking about? So if that happens here, that's just part of the natural process of getting on here and doing this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple things that we probably could say. One, well, I guess we did a little back on the company real fast. So StarNet Solutions, or StarNetSolutions.com, we have been running since 2001. We are an IT integrator, a reseller, a vendor, a licensed distributor, a software installer, and we make a good portion of our revenue from troubleshooting problems that other companies just don't want to do, maybe, or just don't seem to have the skill set to do. We've been doing it a long time, so we really kind of jump feet first into things. There's really no salespeople here. We have somebody who does door quotes and put things together, but there's nobody knocking on doors or reaching out asking people if they want to buy stuff. We just don't do that. So I am proud to say, as one of the owners here, that we've been doing that for 22 years now. And when we first started, you never know what's going to happen. Oh, you'll never survive. Oh, you might survive. We made the first 2 years, and they said if you can usually do that, you're okay. We did pretty well. So we're still doing that. But we are doing a couple things. We started a couple new things this week. We started our StarNet Spotlight, which is where we pick someone in the IT field and outside of StarNet Solutions, and we give them a quick little interview and ask them some questions about what they do. And what they do in IT and how it's, affects their life and things like that. We started doing that, and you can go to StarNetSolutions.com, and I probably should have thrown a slide up, but we could do that later.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, and it's under Spotlight on the webpage, www.starnetsolutions.com. Does anybody ever say www anymore? No, that's gone,
I don't
right?
think so. I mean,
Yeah.
65 and older.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And the times HTTP : // Oh God, those days on the World Wide Web. So anyway, so you can find that there. We're also doing this podcast, which we're going to do our best to do bi-weekly. Just realize that we are crazy busy at StarNet. Phone never stops ringing. We actually got a little bit of a lull today, and we're running a little late because we're going to do this earlier, but people have problems and they have to come first. Customers have to come first. But that being said, today, what I said to Ryan, what I'd really love to talk about is a little bit about, you know, customer service. And, it's not only in the IT world, but from where we sit, it's in the IT world and why it's important. And
Mhm.
I think, Ryan, if you were to kind of look at the importance of customer service in your daily job, like, can you give us a little, I know what my answer is, but I'm going to throw it at you. Can you give us a little spot on why you think that it is, or why it is important, and what it actually can do for you?
Well, it's important because it's relationship building. I mean, if you provide good service, I mean, obviously people are going to want to come back to you. Obviously, they're going to, they're familiar. They become familiar with you, and they trust in you to help them fix their problems. So obviously, when I'm
100%.
out
Yeah.
when I'm out in the field, there's going to be people that I don't know that I'm going to see a new client for the first time, which that happens. But there's also clients that have been with StarNet for 20 some odd years, and I can go out
Mhm.
there and we can poke fun at each other because I know most of the clients that I've been dealing with since I've been here. I know when I can joke around and when to toe that line.
Mhm.
But I also know when to be serious and when there's a problem, and if they have a problem, it's time to get serious. So I think that is a big thing with customer service, because if you can be friendly with them, if you can get on them, I guess I I guess a
What do you
personal
mean get
level is
on
the right
them?
way
Could
to
you
say it.
clarify that?
Get on, like,
You
become
might be crossing
become
the line of professionalism there. We'll have to sit down for your review and talk about that.
yeah. It's more so getting to know them on a personal level, and being, like I said, being able to toe that line where you can take things seriously, but also know when to joke around with them and kind of lighten the mood a little bit.
Absolutely 100% correct. I can tell you that from my own experience that I would probably say more than 99 something percent of our customers, you know, I relate to them, or we try, and I believe we do. I know I do, is I relate to them as people. There's too many companies out in the world that are looking to just, as I say, milk their wallet, or just get money out of them, squeeze them for their dime. And then if there's a problem, they disappear. They don't really help. Those people that step up when there's problems, when it may take time away from the salesman getting his next commission because he's trying to help the customer from before and go above and beyond. Those are what stick. And, it's funny you said some of our customers have for 20 some years. Being that we've been in business for 22 years, I have customers that are from my previous company and my previous company before that, again, I'm an engineer. I go out and I fix things for a living. I don't sit in an office. I don't manage. I get out and I work like the rest of the guys. But those customers will follow you. And I think that's part of where, when Stella and I started the company, that kind of gave us some of our successes, that we were able to, people came to us. I didn't go soliciting anybody when I left my last two companies after years. And the reason I left the last two companies, the first one I left because they were starting to, they weren't being truthful with their customers. They'd send me out for a job to, install a router. And I'm like, we don't need a router here. We need this. And like, oh, well, just tell the customer they need it and then plug it in and make it look like you're doing something. I'm like, I don't do that. Like, that's not me. So I left. The next one, let's not even get into it. It's a little bit similar, and I wasn't too thrilled with that. But when we started this company, Stella and I actually sat down and said, what can we do differently? We're tiny. Nobody knows us. What can we do? And we decided, all right, we're just going to do service. No hardware, no software, just service. And we were getting, on day one, we were getting clients coming in, like coming in, they found out we left other places and they came in, which was good. But, customer service in itself is relationship building. And some people have probably seen some of my posts on LinkedIn, which haven't always been so friendly to some vendors that they haven't been so good to some customers. If I go out and I represent this vendor, company X, let's pick Fortinet. And the reason I'm going to pick them is because I really like what they do. I think their products are good. Nothing's perfect, but I think their products are good. I think their tech support is outstanding. Not that we're calling them every day, but if I was to pick Fortinet and go out and say, hey, you guys did a really good job. We really appreciate what you do. And when I go to my customer and bring them that Fortinet firewall or product, if they love it or they like it and they see that it's doing a good job, great. And they love, but when they have a problem, that's where you really find where you're going to get probably your best relationship with someone. Because if there's a problem, it's like, hey, can you help me? Yeah, well, no, we're too busy, or I can't help you, or they lag, they just don't get back to you. And there's plenty of companies that do that. But let's remember something. No company really started huge with 1 billion customers, right? Whether it's Dell Computers, whether it's Cisco, they all started small. And even Citrix, when they all started small, they were begging for customers to get their business, knocking on doors, cold calling, whatever they could do. I remember those days. I remember Michael Dell selling out of his dorm room. Those
Yeah.
days I remember. I'm old. So it's great. But if they're not doing that when they get bigger and they start to ignore because the investors come in and they want to make the money and they start, to cut these corners, that's not good. In the long run, it really isn't, because a company that's going to sustain, they can doing that if they just bring in tons of volume. But your turnover and, the customer relationships aren't so good. My thing is when we're done, and this is not the tutor on home, but my thing is when we're done, I want somebody to say that was great and I really trust those guys, right? Because it's all trust. I mean, Ryan, when you first started, I remember saying, look, you're going to go out to some customers. In the beginning, they may not want you to come out. They're going to want me to come
Right.
because I'm always going. But once they know you and they see what you can do, they will. And I think you found that with a lot
Oh,
of
for
customers.
sure. But
Yeah,
again, that ties back into the relationship building. Because I mean, if
absolutely.
you're going out there, you're helping them constantly, they're going to look to you to, give them the service that they want and, realistically deserve. So
100%.
that's why customer service and, that's why that's such a big thing. And putting things out there as far as hardware goes and software goes, you want to trust it, because if you're putting something crummy in the field out there, I mean, why are you going to?
Yeah.
There's no sense in that.
Well, the fact that most of our customers have our personal cell phones on top of that, they're going to call. And I tell all my customers, here's my cell phone, call if you need it. And most customers don't abuse that privilege. And by abuse, I mean
Hmm.
calling me for every 2 things. But there's some customers who will say they require more hand holding than others for whatever reason, technical or maybe just personality, and that's fine. But you want to have that trust, right? It's very important. So if I deliver a good product and I stand behind it, then I'm going to have a better relationship. I feel like with Fortinet, we get that. We just had an issue. Not to knock anybody, we just had an issue with Dell. We put out 10 computers and 5 of them have failed in 4 months, right? I mean, so what's Dell doing? We said, hey, just send them new computers, make them happy. And instead, they put this customer through the ringer, and we're out there fighting for months now to find, let's send a motherboard. Oh, let's send a hard drive. And listen, they got their process, I understand. But in the end, what happens, you usually find with these places, they get bigger. They say, well, we need to control the process because we can't go willy-nilly. It can't be Wild West. StarNet can be Wild West because there's 5 of us. And we can, whatever we need to do, we do. And that's basically what I take a lot of pride in. Look, if we need to do it, just do it. Make the customer happy. But they have a process. But that process can also be, you know, contrary to getting their customers having a good relation with the customers, because the customers like, wow, we had 5 computers fail in less than 4 months. And Dell's like, well, it must be your electrical outlets. It's not
Yeah.
their electrical outlets. I mean, that's the support. And it could be the engineer, but the idea is you have to take care of people. And as I tell you guys, like, you got to sit in their seat and say, I need help, right? Imagine that your car just broke down and you're desperate. You know what to do. Maybe you call up, maybe you're frantic, maybe you start, getting anxious with the person aggressively. And as we always say, it's not personal here. It's all work. So we have
Right.
to remember, maybe the guy calling in that day, I don't know, he's getting divorced. He got in a fight with his wife. Maybe his dog passed away. Like, you never know what people's situations are. So you have to put that human quality to it. That's why I hate using automated phone systems. I want somebody to pick up the phone here, hey, what's going on? Yep, we'll get you someone right away kind of
Yep.
thing. Because there's nothing I find more of a wasting time than with wasting through 5 minutes of, phone systems to get through. I understand why they're
Hmm.
important and understand situations they need to be, but I also feel like the days of that one-on-one, I don't want to say human touch because I don't want that to be misinterpreted the wrong way, but that human touch where you are actually giving somebody that bedside manner is important.
And
You
the
know,
crazy thing about it too, getting back to the automated phone system thing, is like I feel like they're trying to kind of fix that and get better at it because they
yeah,
have everybody, you'll sit on hold for 2 minutes and say, "Oh, it's gonna be a while. Leave a message and we'll call you back," which
sure.
is nice. But in the grand scheme of things, you get a call back 2.5 hours later, and you
If you
know,
get a call back,
yeah,
they don't all call
exactly,
back. I mean, that's
exactly.
and that's a big thing. I mean, they even have the ones now where it sounds like it's a real person you hear while you're on hold, like they're typing. Like, seriously, what a crock of shit that is. Like, we're so stupid we can't figure it out. I get what they're trying to do. I get what they're trying to do. I understand that, and I understand they're trying to be more efficient. And I guess in some respects, there's a time and a place for that where it is more efficient. But
Hmm.
I feel like in a tech support field, you need people to answer those phones. And as
Right.
much as I'd love to say we have 1,000 people to answer our phones, we don't because we're small. But I'd love to have more people that can answer phones and help people faster because what you're going to remember is your experience, right? It's your experience with that. That's what you're going to remember. You will remember how much you paid or how long, but the experience behind it is really it. And you know, in my father's side of the family, I always say, listen, it's better to pay a little more and get better service than to pay very little and get crap. Because what's the point? You're just throwing your money out the window. And
Hmm.
so, when I bring, like I was saying before, like I talked about, like bringing Fortnite, who I think has excellent service. We have another vendor that we took up in the last year, which is Enable or N-Able. They are fantastic. I've always been a big Tintry fan. I have to say this, as much as I think Cisco, I used to love Cisco support. And again, we haven't really called them in a long time, but I think they're not quite what they used to be. And I understand the pandemic and all that stuff. People don't want to go to work half the time and all that stuff, and they're shorthanded. I get it. But I have to say, Duo, which is owned by Cisco for multi-factor, they've actually been quite good. They're pleasant, they're effective, they know how to get the job done.
Hmm.
But it's knowledge, and it's also like how they treat you, right? Because I'll tell you a very true story. When Stella was a client of mine, I used to solely handle her account at Caldwell College, and she called me up one day and said I have an emergency, and I wasn't anywhere available. I was on a plane somewhere, and I said, all right. So I called my office and I said, can we send Joe? Or do we have somebody? And my uh, boss at the time said, yeah, we can send Joe. Now Joe was very smart. But Joe was the most miserable SOB you ever met, and he was horrible with people. So I literally called Stella and said, listen, I have a guy that can come, but I need you to know he's terrible with people. I said, are you sure you want me to send him? Or you want to wait till I come back? She goes, no, please send him. So I sent Joe and he fixed the problem. Stella called me up and said, I just want to say thank you for sending Joe. He fixed the problem. We're very happy about that. She goes, but please never send him back again because he was such a miserable son of a bitch. So, you know, he fixed the problem. They're good for that, but you have to have a little bedside manner. Do you want to go to the doctor? He says, "Okay, let me see. Okay, here's your $400. I'm out." Or do you want him to
Yep.
actually spend a little time with you? I'm guilty of being probably too much spending time with people, but I enjoy conversation because you realize that these people are human beings. Every customer is a human being that we have. Every customer has, sometimes a story they need to get out, and some customers just kind of need to, you know, let some of their stress out. They're getting
Hmm.
barraged for a problem that they didn't cause, bad vendor or bad consultant or whatever, but they just need, and you sometimes have to listen. Sometimes a little bit of psychology or psychologist, if you will, as well as that, in my opinion.
Right.
But it's better. I think it's better to do that than to cut people off. I don't really like doing that. And I know you guys, I know you for a fact, do that with people because people tell me, hey, Ryan, he's really good. Send him. I'm like, okay, great. So it's one less I have to worry about managing on my own. But I don't know. I mean, I think where we're coming from is to say, like, customer service is so important. It's really it's exactly what you said, Ryan. It's relationship building, right? And that's where it really needs to be.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to say anything else about that because we're kind of just
No,
randomizing. I did have a
like
go
I
ahead.
said, I mean, if you're doing a good job, they're going to come back. But the offside of that is if you don't do a good job, they're telling 400 people that you didn't do a good job.
So before your time, because you're a little young, as I always say, these guys in the office, before you were born, back when we used to walk to the movies for a nickel in the snow and we'd share a pair of shoes going uphill with, freezing cold, all 12 of us. They used to have the shampoo commercial, and I forgot what it was, but it was like
Herbal essences.
yes. And she told two friends who told two friends. I say all the time, like if you do a good job for someone, it'd be great if they thank you. It's better if they pay the bill, and it's even greater if they refer you to someone. That's great. That's an excellent reward, and I can proudly say that we have referrals that I have counted have been five referrals deep, a referral, which is really cool. But if you do a shit job, this is not a kid-friendly show, by the way. If you do a shit job, yeah, I mean, I guarantee they're going to tell everybody not to use you. It's bad. Nobody wants that stuff,
Yep.
But I did have a question for you. Why do you have Bruce Lee in the background kicking inside this dojo over here in Japan? Is this relevant to customer service?
Yeah, I guess so. At some level.
So if there are people are watching video, the background is it's all action packed. I think we'll just try different ones each time. I found a few others. I didn't put them up, but no, I mean, I think we just wanted to basically introduce ourselves. We're trying to kind of keep it short because attention spans, and especially in IT, people don't have a lot of time, but just want to introduce ourselves, and each podcast will do something different. We're going to do different topics. We're always willing to listen if people want to offer topics. We're good with that as well.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. If you're interested in hearing something or, anything that you might want to hear, just leave us a comment, whatever.
I'd like to hear, here's $1 billion and you can go buy an island and live by yourself kind of thing, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, but that's true. Comments and so on are good. That's really good stuff. And we'll also bring people on that we're actually going to talk to and ask them about their daily stuff and kind of thing. But there's so many topics in the field, and realistically, there's tons of people out there who do these kinds of things, but some of them are instructional and so on. But the one thing that I can tell you is that we don't rehearse anything. I don't ever think we'll ever rehearse anything. We might talk a little bit about the framework of what we're going to do. And then we just kind of just let it go honestly. There's no punches pulled here.
Very authentic.
Very authentic. That's an excellent way of putting it. We may even have visitors from other galaxies, or perhaps superheroes may come on the show. You never know. We got all kinds of stuff going on. All they see is the star power background. They don't see the other side of the room, which has all the superhero crap on it. But other than that,
KB toys in there.
Yeah, exactly. It looks. My friend's like, "Do you have an IT company or a comic book shop, or toy store?" So yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for me this time. Like I said, we want to kind of keep it light and so on. I don't know if Ryan, you want to offer any famous last words before I end the stream, and then we bell and whistle it up with the music and the titles and all that.
I think we should end every podcast with like a famous sign off, like Godspeed, Colonel Steve Austin.
Not saying what? That's always a good one. Did you see that? You're probably like, why does that come up? I think that's good. We could do something like that. I think that would be really cool.
You stay classy, San Diego.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Do you think anybody in San Diego will actually watch this, or is it San Diego?
Who knows?
What was that? What was the cologne that what's his face used in that movie?
Sex Panther. 60% of the time it works every time.
It smells like a baby's diaper in here. Oh, all right. So you come up with a line or try it. You can try until you get one that actually you want to click, and then we'll end the stream for today. Just thank everybody for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, you ready? We're out.
We're out.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Be good.
Been real.